Very warm welcome to the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and the ST Lee lecture series, distinguished lecture series. And the lecture today is on ASEAN's role in the evolving regional architecture. My name is Selina Ho. I'm assistant professor at the school and also co-director of the Center on Asia and Globalization. I warmly welcome you to the school and to the lecture. Now, this evening, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the ST Lee series, Distinguished Lecture Series, say a word or two on the Center on Asia and Globalization, and also introduce our moderator and chairperson for today. Let me begin with the ST Lee Distinguished Lecture Series. The lecture series is made possible by a very generous donation from the late businessman and philanthropist, Dr. Lee Seng-Tee, who was director of the Lee Group of Companies. It is a prestigious program that brings prominent scholars and policymakers to Singapore to address critical international issues and is aimed at alleviating public discourse. And today we have Dr. Kao Kim Hourn as our distinguished speaker. Our past speakers include Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar, US Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage, Professor Francis Fukuyama, and recently we have also the former governor of Jakarta, Anies, as our speaker. So on behalf of the school, I sincerely thank Dr. Lee and the ST Lee Foundation for making this series of lectures possible through their generosity. Let me say also a few words about the Center on Asia and Globalization, which I co-direct. The Center on Asia and Globalization is a research center of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, and we have our own researchers and staff, but we also work closely with faculty at the school who are also our research affiliates. And we focus on four main areas of research: great power relations, Southeast Asia, the regional trade architecture, and technology. And we produce two newsletters for public distribution. Now, it also gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our chair and moderator for today, our very own distinguished dean, Lee Ka-shing Professor of Economics, Professor Danny Kuan. Now, in his work, Professor Kuan takes an economist's approach to world order, focusing on global power shifts and the rise of the East, and also alternative models of global power relations. The other strand in Professor Kuan's work is income inequality, which is set against a broader background of social mobility and cohesion. Now, Danny also holds many positions on advisory boards and councils in very august institutions like Cambridge University, Oxford University, and Tsinghua University. His career includes time spent at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the London School of Economics. Now, with these introductions, let me turn over the session to Professor Danny Kuan, who will introduce our speaker, Dr. Kao Kim Hourn, Secretary General of ASEAN.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends and colleagues, welcome back to the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the Bukit Timah campus if you've been here before, and welcome if it's your first time here. We hope to see you often at events like this. We're delighted and honored to have with us today Dr. Kao Kim Hourn, ASEAN Secretary General. He will speak to us on ASEAN's role in the evolving regional architecture. We are privileged and honored indeed to receive Dr. Kao here. He was, for a long time, Minister in Prime Minister's office in the Kingdom of Cambodia. He served distinguished positions in the Foreign Ministry in Cambodia and across a range of government offices, ministries, and agencies. Dr. Kao's writings on Cambodia, ASEAN, and international relations have helped all of us understand better how Cambodia views its regional role and its understanding of the precepts of its foreign policy. And it's also helped, I'm sure, the people of Cambodia understand better Cambodia's international relations with the rest of Asia, rest of Southeast Asia, and the world. We are familiar with this side of Dr. Kao's work in diplomacy and international relations if you are a specialist of any stripe in the area. What you might not also know, however, is that Dr. Kao is a dedicated promoter of research, education, and development. He founded the University of Cambodia in 2002, and he served as that university's president for 10 years. Today, he comes to us as ASEAN Secretary General to speak at a time when the world is fraught geopolitically, not just in the region, but the entire world. ASEAN's role in the emerging regional architecture will be critical for the livelihoods and well-being of many of us who live here. He will talk about challenges and opportunities, the meaning of ASEAN centrality, both now and going forwards. He has told me that he's going to do all this without referring to notes. He wants this to be a conversation between himself and all of us here. So when he ends his presentation, we will sit down and have a conversation with the audience about the meaning of ASEAN and its role today in this evolving regional architecture. If you will join me in welcoming Dr. Kao to the stage.
Well, first of all, let me start by expressing my profound appreciation to Professor Daniquar Lee Kisheng, Professor in Economics and the Dean of Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. I also want to thank Professor Selina Ho, who was kindly introducing us a little earlier. Well, Excellency, Professor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here today, and of course, to be at this very famous, world-famous School of Public Policy. I think for us in this region, who do not know this school, I think it's like you don't know Singapore. It's a very honor for me, indeed. I will speak this afternoon on this topic on ASEAN's role in the evolving regional architecture. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to split up two parts. First, of course, on ASEAN's role, and the other one's on the regional architecture. And then later on, look at more into the future of ASEAN. I want to start by starting on what we have as the evolving regional architecture. The way I look at it is that we have several levels of regional architecture. One is basically an ASEAN regional architecture, meaning within ASEAN there's a mechanism that we work among ourselves, meaning among the 10 member states. We have all the ASEAN sectoral bodies, the mechanisms across these three different pillars and as in connectivity. For example, in the political and security pillar, we have the foreign minister, the ASEAN foreign minister meeting. This is one mechanism, for example. In the defense sector, we have the ASEAN defense minister meeting. In the economic pillar, we have the ASEAN economic ministers meeting and the ASEAN finance ministers meeting, the ASEAN tourism ministers meeting, and so forth and so forth. There's a long list. There's many of them, but we're not loving so many of them. And of course, also in the social culture, we have also the, say, ASEAN Minister of Education meeting, and the ASEAN Minister in charge of culture and information. So there's a wide range of mechanisms under each pillar. And that's what we do, is that we have so many meetings, so many engagement throughout the year that we are involved extensively in all kinds of negotiations, not just meetings. And that's the one level I will talk about, and that has been the growing dynamics within ASEAN, this mechanism that's taking place. Of course, at another level, we talk about the ASEAN-led mechanisms, okay? Meaning that where we involve extensively with our external partners in the frameworks of ASEAN plus one, ASEAN plus three, ASEAN Defense Minister Plus, ASEAN Regional Forum, and of course the East Asia Summit, as well as the expanded ASEAN Maritime Forum, for example. All of these are what we call ASEAN-led mechanisms, meaning that we work closely, directly, regularly with our external partners. And of course, we classify our external partners on the basis of our relations, cooperation over so many years. We have what we call the dialogue partnership, we have the sectoral dialogue partnership, and we have the development partnership. At the level of dialogue partnership, we also have classification also. We have some are, in fact, there are 5 now classified as comprehensive strategic partners, like the US, China, Australia, India, and Japan. Others we classify as strategic partners, like Canada, and of course, Republic of Korea, and the EU, and Russia. And at another level, of course, we have just a regular dialogue partner like the UK, which of course our newest dialogue partner. So that's at one level. We have at the moment have 11 dialogue partners that we are working very closely. In fact, some are very old, meaning 50 years, like Japan and Australia. The US and the EU will be 47 years of cooperation. At another level, of course, we have the sectoral dialogue partner. At the moment, we have 8 sectoral dialogue partners. And we have also development partners, meaning at another level. At the moment, we have 6 development partners. So why I explain all of this is that I want to explain to you, this is how we engage. But of course, within ASEAN, we have many more mechanisms. We have our own ASEAN Committee in third countries and international organizations that are located around the world in all the continents. At the moment, we have 55 ASEAN committees in third countries and international organizations. They're based from Washington, D.C. to Tokyo, to Moscow, Beijing, London, Berlin, for example. So these are the ASEAN mechanism cutting across around the world. And they do meet regularly among the ambassadors of ASEAN member states based in respective capitals around the world. And they regularly submit report back to the ASEAN Secretariat and to the member states. Okay. I also want to underline that we also, based on the ASEAN Charter, we have set up a very strong mechanism within ASEAN, work on behalf of the ASEAN member state, for the member state, but also work closely with the external partners, and that is the Committee of Permanent Representatives, which of course was not existed before, but as you know, ASEAN is evolving. This Committee of Permanent Representatives has always been quite substantial in terms of engaging on a wide range of issues. And they do a lot of coordination work, but also a lot of substantive work as well. In addition, we have also the ASEAN Centers of Excellence based in ASEAN member states. Okay, here in Singapore, you have ASEAN Center for Cybersecurity. In Thailand, you have the ASEAN Center for Sustainability, and of course, study and of course, and dialogue. In Manila, you have the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. In Cambodia, you have the ASEAN Regional Mine Action Center, for example. So these cut across the ASEAN member state. At the same time, we have, again, working with dialogue partner countries, we have other center as well. For example, in Tokyo, in Seoul, and Beijing, we have ASEAN Center, ASEAN Japan Center, ASEAN Korea Center, ASEAN China Center, for example. And we, of course, we expect soon Of course, U.S. already have a soft launch. Will be U.S. ASEAN Center based in Washington D.C. I understand, will be formally launched very soon. And it's the same thing with India also in New Delhi. So always, I would say these are what we call the different mechanisms that are set up within this region. Of course, this regional, what we call evolved regional architecture, because the new dimensions keep coming up. Now, of course, let me also say that beside these two levels, we also have another level that below sub-regional, below the regional level, and that is sub-regional arrangements. They are considered to be the building blocks of ASEAN community. We have BIMIGA for maritime member state. You have the Mekong, for example, for the continental ASEAN, the Great Mekong sub-region. So this is also another part of the overall regional architecture that we are seeing. But beyond this is that we have what we call non-ASEAN-led mechanisms as well. Here you have AUKUS, you have Quad, been set up more recently, and other minilaterals that have been established also within the region, right? So all of this we see constitute certainly the regional architecture. Now, what I want to say that beside all of that, what ASEAN has been pushing for, and to lay important foundation, and that is have as many high contracting parties to the TAC, the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation. Okay. At the moment, we have 54 countries that constitute the high contracting parties to the TAC, which of course work closely with ASEAN as well. Based on this, meaning that some have already full dialogue partnership, some have sectoral partnership, some development partnership, but the rest, they are working toward some sort of having formal relationship, or they just focus on the practical areas of cooperation. Now, for ASEAN, we have also countries from around the world that have the ambassador accredited to ASEAN, which I believe this is part of the expanded regional architecture. Beside the 10 ASEAN member states, we have 95 non-ASEAN ambassadors that are accredited to ASEAN. So based on this, meaning that the ASEAN headquarters, meaning that we welcome and work closely with the various countries that they have the ambassador accredited to ASEAN one way or another, in order to build relations and of course expand cooperation between ASEAN and those countries. So again, this is the architecture we have. Of course, we have Quad and AUKUS. I will not say much because we know already, but I just want to say that at the moment, all Quad members are the comprehensive strategic partners of ASEAN already. They are friends, they are also partners of ASEAN. And that's, I think, it's quite important. Now, of course, in moving forward a little bit in terms of regional architecture here, with some of the countries, they want to have more engagement with ASEAN, whether through the upgrading of the dialogue partnership. For example, South Korea, I think they plan to become a full comprehensive partner this year. The EU has requested already formally to become a comprehensive strategic partner. I think we're looking at something that the ASEAN member state will have to discuss, and then of course work on that. Let me move forward a little bit because I don't wish to spend a lot of time because I think interaction would be better. Let me look at the role. Basically, what are the important roles of ASEAN in all of this, the evolved regional architecture? Well, the way I look at it is that the first important role is that overall role. One, of course, is the convener of the various dialogues, consultations, negotiations, meetings at the various levels, covering various issues and areas of cooperation, okay, with the external partners. Second, of course, ASEAN has been actively promoting setting norms within the region. Of course, we have international law, right? But also ASEAN has its own values, its own norms. That has been spelled out very clearly under the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia, which is the key instrument. Also in the ASEAN Charter, and of course various other ASEAN key documents like ZOFN, the Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality, and also the Southeast Asia Nuclear Weapon Free Zone Treaty also. It means that we don't want to have any nuclear weapons in our region. We don't want to have any WMD here also. So I think it's very clearly spelled out what we really want for our region. So these are, I think, it's quite important in terms of norm setting for ASEAN. The other thing, of course, you've probably seen that, given the fact that there has been a lot of Indo-Pacific strategies that have been put out over the recent years. So I think to ensure that ASEAN is in the driver's seat, playing the primary driving force in the region, as ASEAN has put out clearly a framework of cooperation, and that is the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, setting out the 4 priority areas of cooperation that we have to work together in the 4 priority areas, of course, ranging from connectivity to not just only connectivity, but also maritime cooperation, the sustainable goals, economic and other areas of cooperation. And I have seen already that a number of countries already decide to work closely with ASEAN. Now, of course, also ASEAN has been playing the role of promoting cooperation across the different pillars, across the different sectors. We want cooperation, not competition or conflict, but cooperation. Now, of course, in terms of more pillar specific, as well as more general role of ASEAN, let me highlight the following. I would say what ASEAN has been doing over so many years and decades now is that the key role is the maintenance and preservation of peace and stability in the region. It's very clear. This has been done through the promotion of competence building measures, trust building, conflict avoidance, okay? Also conflict prevention, promotion of dialogue, diplomacy, and consultation. Along this line also, ASEAN has been actively promoting consensus building and, of course, building partnership. In the ASEAN Charter, in fact, there is a clear language spelled out, and that is the role of ASEAN is to maintain the centrality and, of course, the active role of ASEAN as the primary driving force in its relations and cooperation with external partners in the regional architecture. I think the Charter is very visionary there. So clearly spelled out there. Now, in essence, basically, I think what it is we want to make sure that ASEAN will become a real centripetal force, a force of bringing everyone together to the center, to support ASEAN in terms of support ASEAN centrality, ASEAN unity, ASEAN integration, and ASEAN community. So another word is that we're not making ASEAN as a centrifugal force, a force that moving away from the center, a force of fragmentation. It's not ASEAN. I think this is something that we have to be very clear, that we bring everyone together to ASEAN. That's why ASEAN has been proactively promoting its key principle of inclusivity, openness, and transparency. Okay? It means that the way it operates, ASEAN modus operandi, is to promote trust as the key foundation of building long-term relationship with our external partners. In other words, of course, there's no hidden agenda. Okay? We work with our partners transparently. In addition, I want also to highlight that ASEAN has been quite active in the work of socialization. Okay? The ASEAN way. Okay? From, for example, taking photos before the meeting, the start of each meeting. And of course, the way the language being drafted in each ASEAN document, if you read ASEAN statements, you think it's easy to understand. But I think the statement that come out at every meeting, it has a lot of meanings, a lot of substance, and it requires careful reading between the lines, right? To make sure that there is a clear understanding. Second, of course, the role of ASEAN is really building prosperity for its people. I think this is very important for ASEAN. From the very beginning until today, ASEAN has never taken prosperity for granted. Okay. For this reason, that's why ASEAN has constantly, proactively promoting trade, investment, tourism, connectivity, infrastructure development, energy. All of these dimensions of the ASEAN economy, we're talking about how we can make ASEAN economy stronger. And also make ASEAN as the key region that can attract foreign direct investment. Okay? You just look at the number in terms of foreign direct investment. Before COVID-19 in 2019, and of course, right after COVID-19, the amount of investment almost doubled to more than $200 billion. See? Unless those investors have the confidence in ASEAN, otherwise they will not invest in this region. So I think it's a stamp of approval, it's a vote of confidence in ASEAN by investing in ASEAN. Of course, right now, ASEAN focus very much on the blue economy. Right now is a new driver of ASEAN economy, the digital economy. In fact, last year, for the very first time, ASEAN member states agreed to launch the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement negotiations, okay, agreement. Because based on the study that's been done by Boston Consulting Group, that the ASEAN economy expect to increase to some $2 trillion by 2030. And of course, the digital economy is here already, but how can we tap into this? Because all the 10 member states, they have different levels of digital readiness in terms of digital infrastructure, digital skills, in terms of cybersecurity, capacity, and all of it. So I think it's important for the 10 member states to work together to build a strong economy. Of course, we also have the green economy, the circular economy, all have been working very hard by our economic ministers. Now, of course, ASEAN has made a lot of efforts to make this region as the epicenter of growth. And this is the term that's been used by Indonesia as the theme of last year's chairmanship. Yeah, so I think very clear the decisions of the ASEAN member state, ASEAN leaders, is to really make ASEAN as the center, the epicenter of growth. But also not in terms of for economic, but also in terms of peace as well. So I would say that right now, what ASEAN has is that we have 6 bilateral FTAs that will work with Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, Korea, India. Of course, now we're negotiating with Canada. Okay. Of course, the senior officials now are very busy working on to upgrade some of the bilateral FTAs to make sure that these FTAs remain relevant to the business community, to the private sector. At the same time, we have the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership that is in the full swing now after the Philippines was the last country to ratify in June last year. It went into effect. Last year was a very important year in terms of the progress that we have made in terms of moving forward on the RCEP. So we agree on the funding arrangement. We agree on the institutional setup during the transition period, meaning to have the RCEP support unit being set up to support the work. At the moment, of course, also we now start to discuss and negotiate the protocol, the accession protocol, so to allow other interested countries and entities to be part of RCEP. I want to underline that for ASEAN, we have always leave the door open for India to return to RCEP. In fact, when I had my working visit to India recently, I raised this issue to India to welcome India back to RCEP. And I want to emphasize that RCEP is not a Chinese-dominated or Chinese-driven at all. It's an ASEAN-driven framework of FTA. It's the largest FTA. So that's important. Let me move on very quickly on the next role, of course, is the third role, of course, building people-centered, people-oriented ASEAN community. At the end of the day, what is ASEAN for? It's for the people of ASEAN. And that's why you can see right now, I would say in the past 10 years, there have been proliferation of new mechanisms under the ASEAN social cultural community. So now, of course, there's more meetings, more negotiations by the ASCC, which we consider as a people's pillar. So we focus on health sector, environment, education, rural development, women, climate change, culture, of course, among others. So there's so many things we can focus on. Another issue, of course, we have been focused on so much on, of course, that is building connectivity across the ASEAN region, but also between ASEAN and its external partners. It's not just only with ASEAN, of course. Connectivity, talk about air connectivity, port connectivity, maritime connectivity, land connectivity, people to people connectivity, and institutional connectivity. We have done so much already in this area. But of course, there's more work remain ahead of us. Finally, let me come back to one issue that I didn't quite talk on, address, and that is the keyword is evolving. Okay. If you're looking back at ASEAN, say, since the end of the Cold War until today, ASEAN has been transformed so much. We did not have the ASEAN Charter until 2007 here in Singapore, when the charter was adopted by the ASEAN leaders here in Singapore during the summit in Singapore under Singapore chairmanship, and it went into effect the following year. The ASEAN Charter provides legal personality to ASEAN. We did not have the East Asia Summit mechanism, the ASEAN Defense Minister Plus, for example. All these new mechanisms were not there. Even the CPR, the Committee Permanent Representative, all of this. So I would say a lot has changed, a lot has been transformed. That's why today at the Secretariat we have more than 400 staff working full-time. We have more than 200 staff work on various projects. So to serve the member states, to serve ASEAN, but also to serve our partners as well. For the moment, of course, is that because of the evolving situation, evolving not only the region but also around the world, is that ASEAN does not want to be seen as a reactive intergovernmental regional organization. And that's why for the very first time, ASEAN has put forward a 20-year vision, what is called the ASEAN Community Vision 2045, that will be kicked off from 2026 to 2045. The first draft of this ASEAN Community Vision 2045 has already been done and noted by the ASEAN leaders. This year is a major year to start the crafting of the 4 strategic plans. We have one strategic plan for each of the three pillars, but also we have a separate strategic plan for the ASEAN connectivity. So there will be 4 strategic plans that will implement the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. Again, I think all this because we are driven by the changes out there, the major factors, the demography of this region. For example, ASEAN population today, we have 671 million people, and a large part is young people, and we expect eventually to have 700. So we are third ranking in terms of population only after China and India. But of course, technology is another factor, very well, climate change, and certainly the behavioral states, right? You can see changing constantly also. So again, for ASEAN, I think this looking ahead is that we have to focus on the megatrends, the opportunity and challenges that mentioned by Dean Denigua. ASEAN has to seize every opportunity and address head-on the challenges and transform those challenges into opportunity for us. Now, let me say that I know it's a lot more but I want to provide some snapshot here, and then we can have an interactive session. But once again, let me put on a record of my sincere gratitude to the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for such an excellent overarching roundup of developments in this region, how you see the evolving structures and architectures, and how you see the way ahead. I thought I might begin, if I may. If we think about ASEAN playing this role in the region's evolving architecture, one of the things that naturally comes to mind is how regional order, the rules, norms, and conventions that we have in this region continue to be sustained. ASEAN is a hugely important part of that. And you've described how in the constructions that ASEAN have put together, it's been able to provide a centripetal force holding things together. But in your own comments, you also put reference to how there are risks of forces in the opposite direction, the centrifugal forces, the forces for fragmentation. Now, in world order, it seems like the forces for fragmentation have become paramount. So much of the world is fractured that the IMF worries about the global economy losing 7% of GDP. So I wonder, from where you sit, if you might be willing to share with us your own perception of where the risks are in our regional architecture. What are the centrifugal forces, the forces for fragmentation, that you worry about from the SecGen's office? Share with us a little bit of these risks that we need to be watchful for, to be on the lookout for.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Denigua. Of course, our concern that there are a number of factors that would move away from the center. Of course, Myanmar is one issue, for example. What had transformed Myanmar recently, since February 2021 until today, and that's why ASEAN has this 5-point consensus to assist and support Myanmar to make sure that Myanmar will hold together and remain in the integral part of ASEAN. And for us, of course, is to assist Myanmar, but also we would allow Myanmar to take lead in terms of Myanmar-led, Myanmar-owned process. And for us, our interest is to see a termination, if not a reduction, a complete termination of violence on the ground. The promotion of inclusive political dialogue to make sure the different stakeholders in Myanmar are able to sit down together. And that's why we have the role of the ASEAN Chair and the Special Envoy ASEAN Chair on Myanmar working actively to promote the inclusive political dialogue. And of course, at the end of the day, we have to focus on the people of Myanmar who have been affected by the situation in the country, and we should not penalize the people of Myanmar. So what we do is that we should provide humanitarian assistance to the people of Myanmar. And I think that is the heart of the work of ASEAN right now. Second, of course, is that we have to make sure that we promote more of ASEAN identity. Because, we have to promote ASEAN regionalism. Because the spirit of nationalism is still strong. So I think this is where we have to say, being in ASEAN, there are benefits. Okay. For example, the citizens of ASEAN say that they can travel with ASEAN zone without require a visa, for example. The increased connectivity with ASEAN, where they want to fly with ASEAN zone, will be easier to travel now than before. Because of ASEAN, that's why we're able to bring in a lot of foreign direct investment in the region, and this foreign direct investment create jobs for the people. So always, I think we can keep highlighting to the people that ASEAN does matter to the people in this region. Otherwise, if people say, what's the benefit for them? Then I think the support is not strong enough. But I would say there is now an increasing interest in ASEAN, more and more. Not only from within the region, but also outside the region, I may say. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very helpful. I obviously know my colleagues, but I would invite you when you come up to ask a question to identify yourself and say where you're from. I see Professor Yun Fong, Dennis, Hugh, and others already in line, Ambassador. But I know that Yong-wook has been very patiently waiting at the microphone. So I would like him to ask the first question. And then, if I may, you're all very distinguished, and I feel a little bit uneasy asking you to step up to the microphone. But may I invite you, before you ask your question, to do indeed step up to the microphone. Yong-wook, can you start us off, please?
Okay. Thank you, Secretary General, for your very interesting
Please say who you are and where you're from.
presentation. My name is Yong-wook Ryu. I teach here at the Lee Kuan Yew School, and one of the courses that I teach is on ASEAN and Southeast Asian regionalism. Now, you spoke quite a bit about ASEAN centrality in its external dimension, right? So how ASEAN matters for the formation of regional architecture, institution, and norms and stuff like that. I have two questions, which relate to other aspects of ASEAN. So first question is, do you think that ASEAN is a central actor, not vis-a-vis external parties, but vis-a-vis its own member states? So you spoke quite a bit about external dimension, but in terms of internal dimension, what centrality does ASEAN have in relation to the 10 member states? So that's first question. The second question is, one of the criticisms of ASEAN that has been made in the academia is that ASEAN is good for making process, but not progress. And a lot of this has to do with the internal decision-making rules, right, and certain set of institutional features collectively known as the ASEAN way. So from your perspective, in the position of Secretary General, do you think that it's now time for ASEAN to think about its decision-making rules and its enforcement rules and institutions to be more in line with enforcing agreements and decisions rather than tolerating certain misbehavior here and there, and try to use other ways to bring misbehavior in line with ASEAN norms and institutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yong. Your Excellency, over to you, and after that, Yun Fong.
Thank you. Thank you very much
After that.
for this two questions. Well, the ASEAN centrality, and of course, how all of this looking in, really, from outside in, maybe looking in. I would say that we do concern, we discuss extensively among ourselves what it means to play the central role, what it means to be in a driver's seat, what it means, this notion of centrality, what does it mean to us, and how do we act among ourselves, the 10 countries. Of course, there are certain issues that we may have more, or that certain other issues we may not. For example, an example, the case of Myanmar. We would like Myanmar to implement the 5-point consensus. Very much so. Because Myanmar was part of the discussion at the ASEAN leaders meeting back in April 2022. Yes, in 2021, I should say. And but there's no, what we call the reciprocity was not quite there. So, but for ASEAN, the position is very clear. We need to continue to work together, and we need to have a consensus on whatever we do. Because without consensus, there's no centrality. And of course, there's a lot of criticism out there of ASEAN. But I would say that on the decision-making process, there are certain things we make very fast. There's a lot of issues that we make fast decisions. There are challenging issues that may require more time. We have to be patient. Because the idea is that once we reach a consensus, it is unbreakable. And therefore, it becomes the strength of ASEAN. And there are many cases that, we have a common ground. For example, on the South China Sea, we are able to issue statements. On Russia-Ukraine, ASEAN issues 3 statements. Okay? And so on and so forth. And the reason is that even on Gaza, it's a very difficult position because member state has spectrum of position. But yet, ASEAN, in the finality, could reach a common position. And of course, it took quite a bit of time, but certainly, of course, we come to an agreement because, we had to have a common position. But I would say that the enforcement, there are different ways of enforcing it. In ASEAN, what we do in terms of enforcement is that the Secretariat plays a role of monitoring. And we put out the report card, basically. Okay, where the countries are moving ahead, where countries are still behind, you could see there. And there's some degree of peer pressure there. Because you don't have to tell, because by looking at the report card or the progress report, you can see already. And you say that there's only process but not progress. I would say both. We are good at defining the process, setting the process, but also there's a lot of progress. You just look at this. In terms of, say, the current trade volume within ASEAN. Trade, intra-ASEAN trade, right? At the moment, we have 22.4%. You see, this is very low. But this figure I had to put in terms of overall, the total of ASEAN trade with external partners. The more external trade partners increase, meaning that the intra-ASEAN trade would be decreasing. So overall, this trade environment is already increasing. So it means that we're working more together, okay? Of course, there's still a lot of room for improvement in terms of reducing trade barriers, also non-trade barriers, for example. But I think the fact that there is a lot of commitment now, whatever than before, to work together. But again, come back in short is that the ASEAN centrality is really a topic that we always are very conscious of within ASEAN.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I thought one of the key points that came out in this conversation with Yong was something that you've described before, which is that it might seem like ASEAN spends a lot of time doing process, clearing underbrush, the whole palaver involved. But once consensus is reached, it is strong. And that's one of the great strengths of this organization. And I thought that came through clearly in your answer. What I'd like to do is invite Yun Fong to ask his question now. Then I'm going to turn to His Excellency to speak. And then, Mr. Ambassador, I would like you to come up afterwards. Go ahead, Yun Fong.
Thank you very much, Sec-Gen, for a very substantive talk that drills very deeply into the initiatives and institutions that ASEAN has built, both within ASEAN and and in its engagement with external powers. I was, however, slightly disappointed that you may have left out something, or which you only referred to very obliquely in your talk, which to me might be an elephant in the room that has a very strong impact on the evolving regional architecture, as well as ASEAN's centrality or its aspirations of being in the driver's seat. And I think what I'm referring to is the US-China competition, right? That so many people, so many analysts are worried about. And it seems to me that that competition and the intensification of that rivalry may impact on ASEAN in at least two ways. One, the pressure to choose, and of course ASEAN's response is we don't want to choose. But if you look carefully at the behavior and the policies of the ASEAN countries, I think many analysts have concluded that actually ASEAN is all over the map. Some have already chosen. You can clearly see that they are closer to one camp than the other, all right, both either China or US. Some are still in the middle. So ASEAN is all over the map. And that means that ASEAN's solidarity is going to be very hard to come by. Secondly, the other possible impact is that all the fantastic institutions that ASEAN created in the 1990s, in the 2000s, the ARF, the East Asian Summit, people worry whether they might be eclipsed by some of the institutions that you mentioned, the FOIP, AUKUS, and the Quad, right? Because in a sense, if you accept the thesis that the China-US competition is back big time, you can say that the big boys are back, all right? And these are the more relevant institutions, at least for the security future of the region, and that the ASEAN institutions may be sidelined. That's one of the worries. I wonder if you could comment on those two issues.
Thank you very much, Yun Fong.
Thank you very much. Wow, excellent. In fact, I knew this was coming, so I leave it to you. Yeah. Yes. You see, we are, of course, always, it's always on our mind, the strategic competition between the United States and China. And of course, also the rise of India. We should not discount India at all. When I met with the Indian foreign minister, and he said one thing, why India has moved away from look east to act east policy. Because India wanted to really engage ASEAN. And why so? Because this is the only game in town. I quote his word. This is the only game in town. Okay. No, I think I have engaged already many officials, people from think tank, also colleagues and friends. We heard so much about the competition, the rivalry, the tensions, and so forth and so forth. And I think if you were to read too much into the media that tend to portray or convey certain narratives, then you say this all is undermining ASEAN. But if you are in the actual work on the ground, digging on the ground, then it's not. I mean, I don't feel that way at all. We work constantly with the US mission to ASEAN, with the mission China to ASEAN, with everyone there in Jakarta. We constantly have dialogue consultation. We work on many practical projects of cooperation. You know, there's programs, there are projects, there's activities constantly. So all of these may be just a rhetoric, I think, to some extent, rather than the actual. You know, yes, there are arms built up. Yes, there's arms race and all of that. But I hope the bottom line, there should be no misperception. Okay? So I hope perhaps the role of media should promote more constructive dialogue. Because at our level, we are promoting this, very much so. And that's why, of course, in recent, but this year you can see, Professor Kuan, that US and China now, they have a lot of dialogues and meetings. And of course, you see why they're not back in the meetings, because they believe they are mutual interests in having a stronger and more efficient bilateral cooperation. And it's good for the world also, good, and it was good for ASEAN. But at the end of the day, we still have the leaders of the US and China sitting at the ASEAN meetings, ASEAN-led mechanism meetings, so, and have dialogues. And we negotiate the same documents together. So if they do not support ASEAN, I mean, they wouldn't be at the meeting regularly. So that the fact that these missions of China and the United States, they have the most number of diplomats working. You know, it's not only a few. They talk about a substantial number, and they work on many projects together with ASEAN. So I would say, again, I would say, yes, there are pressure for us to choose side, but it would be a mistake for ASEAN to choose side. It would be a big mistake for us. That's why I say in ASEAN, we have 5 no's. I want to share with you my 5 no's. Number 1, there's no big problem, big sister in ASEAN. Everyone, we have equal footing. Okay? Whether you're a small country, a big country, the same amount of contribution in terms of the budget to ASEAN Secretariat. The second no, of course, there's no bloc within a bloc. All the sub-regional arrangements, they are the building block of ASEAN. Okay, that's why they always invite ASEAN Secretariat to participate in all these meetings to make sure there's no misperception. Third, there is no core group. We don't have core group in ASEAN, like in the EU. We don't have that. Fourth, of course, there's no proxy in ASEAN. We do not believe in proxy. Okay? And finally, there's no WMD. We don't need it. Okay? And that's why we're pushing for the 5 nuclear weapon states to accede to the protocol of the Sunfast Treaty.
Thank you very much. Do you want to touch quickly on the point about whether the big boys through AUKUS and Quad and everything are now in town and they're going to eclipse ASEAN? How do you, just a quick word on that?
Well, you know, in fact, I don't think so. I mean, I have been meeting with ambassadors from the Quad countries. They have a strong interest to formalize a relation between Quad and ASEAN. But I know within ASEAN we have a spectrum of positions. Okay? Some of us believe that Quad member states are already the comprehensive security partners for ASEAN. So there's no need to have a formal relationship. And I think it's important that we continue to work together, because what is needed is trust. in the relationship. And I believe that in every Quad statement that has come out until now, Quad always support ASEAN centrality. And I think you can go back and document this. And this is not a lip service. We take it at face value.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Please, I hope you'll forgive me. I'm going to...
Thank you so much. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. My name is Nikolai Kudyshev. I'm Russian ambassador to the Republic of Singapore. May I raise one question with you? You would surely know that Russia remains committed to ASEAN-Russia strategic partnership and remains committed to the ASEAN-centric vision. With the view to the coming high-level ASEAN-Russia meetings, they would start end of April. What do you think about the nearest future of ASEAN-Russia relationship under modern challenging times? And what do you think about the nearest future of the chances of the larger Eurasian partnership concept, bringing together Russia, Eurasian Economic Union, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and ASEAN, being launched, being put forward by President of Russia, Mr. Putin? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Excellency Ambassador. Well, Russia is ASEAN's strategic partner. And of course, we have been working together. There are still activities that we collaborate together. And of course, there's regular meetings. You have always been invited also to all the meetings that we have. So the engagement still in place. Of course, the proposal put forward, there has been some discussion, of course, between collaboration between ASEAN and the, I believe, EUEA, yes, the Eurasian Economic Union. There's proposal there to what we can do together to work in terms of promoting trade. But again, I would say that the interest of member states, of course, we work together on from the political security to trade, economic, and tourism. In fact, I want to mention one area where there's a lot of interest, and that is in the tourism sector. Looking at the number last year, ASEAN welcomed a lot of Russian tourists, okay? Of course, to Thailand, to Vietnam, here also in Singapore, and of course to Indonesia, I can see. But again, I think we have to look at the state of relations in terms of the current situation at the moment.
Okay. Good afternoon, Secretary General. Welcome to our school. I'm from China, graduated from Kuan School. Yeah. My question is that there is a worry that due to the different stance among member states over the South China Sea conflicts, in the future, the ASEAN may be divided into two ASEANs. One is continental, another is maritime. So my question is that do you share the same concern? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yvette Fu from the Center for International Law's ASEAN Law and Policy team. Thank you very much, Dr. Kao, for your insightful lecture. My question is, given the present geopolitical realities, practicalities, would you agree that seeking external cooperation is now taking precedent over internal consensus? Thank you.
Moaz Hayat. I'm a visiting PhD student from Cambridge University. Just to add to the first question, are you concerned about the formation of kind of mini-lateral institutions within ASEAN, specifically in the security sector? For example, the Philippines-Vietnam partnership. Do you think that undermines or actually augments ASEAN's institutions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question.
Yes, my name is Shutin, currently a visiting student in NTU. So my question is that, has economic security changed the way of economic development in ASEAN region? And in your opinion, how ASEAN respond to the rising thought of rising power of economic security in this region and beyond. Is the RCEP a strategy to encounter such kind of concerns? Thank you very much.
I don't share this view that because of the issue of South China Sea, it will be dividing ASEAN. Not at all. By and large, we have this culture of agree to disagree. Of course, ASEAN does not have a common foreign policy, okay? But yet, there are certain foreign policy positions that ASEAN share together. On the South China Sea, South China Sea, of course, we have some common ground I can share with you. First, we have the common position on the DOC. We spent a lot of time negotiating to reach the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in South China Sea. If we didn't have the common ground, we wouldn't be able to have that document in the first place. Second, if we didn't have the common ground, we would not have the guidelines that were adopted in 2011 to implement the DOC. And of course, now we have a consensus on working together to negotiate with China to have the COC before the end of next year. Again, there's a common ground. Of course, there are, because the issue of South China Sea is very complex. I think we have to demystify this issue and look at different layers of issue. You have the certain issues of what we call claims and counterclaims in terms of sovereignty, right? And we cannot move away from bilateral negotiations. On territorial claims, they had to be negotiated by parties directly involved, you see? But of course, on the overall issue of peace, stability, and cooperation in South China Sea, we have to negotiate between ASEAN and China because of the broader interest that we have between the two sides, meaning ASEAN and China. So of course, there are here and there, you can see the stories keep coming out regularly in the media. And I think we, of course, you can read into the stories, but at the same time, you have to understand the strong spirit of negotiation. That's why we continue to negotiate for some time already. And we expect to conclude this CEC negotiation before the end of next year. The issue of geopolitical reality, of course, seeking external cooperation, I think over internal consensus. No, I think they are, they should be working in parallel. ASEAN, by nature, we always engage externally. Because doing business, for example, we need foreign direct investment from overseas, right? Trade, we have to look beyond our own market also. Therefore, access to other markets will be critical also, you see, right? Also in terms of tourism, of course, we try and promote it within the region as much as possible, but we welcome tourism from overseas. For example, in 2019, international tourist arrival into ASEAN region, we had roughly about 140 million tourists. But in last year, the number, of course, it's almost catching up. We had roughly about 120 million tourists. So the number is almost reaching back to the pre-COVID level. But of course, this is despite the fact that the tourists outbound from China, from Japan and Korea, still less. But we expect that we're going to continue to work together. Again, that's as for ASEAN's interest. But in terms of, say, we work together internally, for example, how to promote ASEAN tourism, because we have regular meetings at the different level, from the ministerial level to the senior official to working group, how we would approach tourism in ASEAN, for example. That's internal consensus. Also, the same thing with trade, How do we approach each of the dialogue partners that we have bilateral FTA with? So again, I think we work, if we don't have internal consensus, there's no way we can negotiate with external partners. So we have to have an internal consensus first. Multilaterals, I don't think it's undermining. And I want to share this with you that last year, at the summit in Jakarta, it's clearly the position of ASEAN that was stated by our leaders that we believe that the multilaterals that have been established, they have expressed their support to ASEAN. Okay, we have not seen any activities that would constitute an activity to undermine ASEAN at this moment. Whether AUKUS or Quad, of course, we're trying to understand more how these will evolve over time, all right? Because only time can tell how these multilaterals will be working with ASEAN. So I think it's important for us to not dictate or predict the evolving process, but I think is that we will monitor what's happening in the region. And of course, as long as ASEAN continue to drive the process, because like what I just alluded earlier, that we work openly, transparently, inclusively. And that's why we have partners who want to work with us. But I think anything that you come up with a political agenda that would be undermining ASEAN, I think you will see a response from ASEAN immediately. On the economic security issue, of course, for ASEAN, our goal is to promote economic development across the entire region. There are security issues, of course, in terms of, you can see already, there are certain issues that will be taken by the member state. Ban exports and certain items, for example, right? We've seen this. But I think we're working toward a common goal, because in the ASEAN Charter clearly spells out that we need to build a single market and production base. So that's what we're working to. And I think we can see right now, as long we move together to that direction, it's important. And that's why I think working together, it would take a lot more time, and we had to make more efforts rather than we go alone, you see. And for example, Singapore was always ahead in terms of the economic, whether free trade or others, Singapore tend to lead. But I think I would say like this, we have a lot of interest by working together in this region. So the economic security, yes, that's why we are now working on the digital economy, to have the ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement in place. We have to negotiate to bring about the what we call shared interest in ASEAN.
Thank you. This is a conversation that I think everyone in this room feels very engaged with, and there are many who want to jump in with further questions. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to be the bad guy here and bring this discussion to an end. We've reached the time when everyone's supposed to take off. So let me just thank Center for Asian Globalization, its co-directors and its staff, putting together such a wonderful event. We've had an amazing discussion. And I thank you all for your interest and enthusiasm and all the questions that you asked. But more than anything else, I want everyone here, even those who are leaving, to join in the applause for His Excellency, the Secretary General.